Pick up your Kazuda Showcase now before it spikes after rotation. And even right now, this deck's very good. Let's check it out. So this is my Kazuda list that I've been working on quite a bit. And I have a lot of reasons why I'm not playing the Tarkentown version, which I'll get into in a second. But the reason why I'm playing Kazuda over something like Sabine, obviously, I've been known to play Sabine for a while. Sabine just isn't good right now. And the reason why I don't Sabine isn't as good as Sabine used to be is due to the fact that force decks exist and they can easily take out Sabine. Additionally, cards like Turret exist, which is a 3/5 on the ground, a sentinel, and if you have the force, whenever you're attacked, you may use the force and get -2 attack on the attacker into Turret. And that, if your opponent ever just slams a Turret, that often makes your Sabine deploy turn completely null and void. And then Sabine is easily handled on the following turn. Why does that matter? Well, for an aggro deck, the whole point is Sabine comes out on 4 resources and you're able to just get so much additional value in the game state to essentially put your opponent in check or checkmate much, much quicker than any other deck in the game. And with that being the case, Kazuda has the ability to deploy into space if he wants. And the /ability to have the agency to either deploy on the ground, slap a heroic sack on him, go for 4 to base, and then he doesn't die, or put +3/+3 in space and then win the game with 1 or 2 units, and using your hand hate to control your opponent's hand so that they can't kill Kazuda before you deploy him, and just checking their hand. And that's the real power of this deck. And also, you get to play really broken stuff like Fireball. So let's dig into that. And check out the deck list. Before we look into the deck list breakdown, I want to say a huge thank you to Heavy Play sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in my description to get 10% off on any of their merch. Their stuff is fantastic, very high quality, very durable, and made for competitive play. All right, so for the breakdown, we're going to be taking a look at the pilots. We're going to look at pilots, then we're going to look at how does like a normal turn, like the first 3 or 4 turns of the game go, and then we're going to look at events. So R2, I'm only playing 2 copies of R2. Different than Sabine, I'm not maxing out the copies here because we don't have any Rebel synergy. You know, there were plenty of games where I've slapped a 1/4 R2 on the ground and swung a wing leader on that sucker and made it a 3/6 and just won the game by having a 3/6 on turn 2 that Quinlan couldn't answer, right? I've done plenty of things like that, but this card helps get certain cards out of range of Force Lightning, Ambush, etc. It's just a nice math piece to use as an extra action dirtle as well. I almost see this as almost like a fake leader action. You know how sometimes people like action pass? R2 lets you action pass. It's a 0 cost of a card, and people don't think about that, but I actually use this to sometimes soft pass. Like, I will slap an R2 on something that's an action, and it didn't cost me any like resources, so my entire turn is still free if I have other cards in my hand still. And that could really mess people up. Additionally, with the Pilot Falcon, this thing actually provides +2/+1. With the Black Squadron Scout Wing, this actually provides +2/+1 and lets you cheat an attack action for 0. So some really powerful stuff going on there. All right, so Frisk, I have 2 copies of Frisk in the deck. This gets around Entrenched, other pump effects, Hotshot Blaster, Twice the Pride, shield tokens in space, experience tokens in space. Like, for example, if your opponent ambushes in a Sabine's Masterpiece and then they go into a 3/2 and they make it a 4/4 because they have a green unit, you can then pilot Frisk on your other ship you have out there, pop the experience token, kill the Sabine's Masterpiece. It's a nice flex card, and it's a nice +2/+2. Even if you can't defeat something, it's not that bad. But I have it in the main deck because Entrenched is such a blowout for this deck. You need to have a way to get around that card. Because if they ever entrenched your leader, it's just really difficult to win from that perspective. And we have even more anti-entrenched hate in the sideboard. But a lot of people are not playing entrenched because I think it's starting to go down a little bit in play, because I do think that it can be a dead card in the mirror, right? If you're playing 2 force decks and you draw 2 entrench off the top and your opponent draws a Luke and Crate, it's just such a bad card to draw at the wrong time. And it's a very niche card, so I think a lot of people are probably sideboarding it now, which is probably the right decision in my opinion if I were to play a force deck. but just in case people are main decking it, the Frisk has just done some wild stuff though for me, right? Taking my opponent off of lethal with Frisk and things like that. Also has some synergy with the Pilot Falcon, has some synergy with the Black Squadron Scout Wing because it's +3/+2 with that card, so you get to swing for 7, which is really powerful. Great. All right, so BB-8. Oh my gosh, I feel like such a casual throwing this in here. But I kid you not, and I know some people I've played, like I play tested with, they hate this card, bro. Like when you get BB-8 out there and you can actually get the ready effect on Fireball, Black One, or the Black Squadron Scout Wing. So BB-8, for example, this is something that's pretty common. Let's say you deploy Kazuda onto Black One, then you play out, you know, let's say a Falcon or something, you play GM Comms, you swing out. All right, next turn, first action, attack with the Black One. Then you can slap the BB-8 onto the Falcon for 3, ready up your Black One, and then go base. I've also done this where you like play Black One, right? Turn 1, shenanigans, your opponent removes some stuff. You only have Black One left. You pilot on it, you swing for 6, play a Cartel Turncoat, a 1-drop on 4 resources, then play BB-8 on the Cartel Turncoat, ready up the Black One, swing for 6. That is a 12 damage play is insane. And it is not uncommon because I'm running 8 resistance ships. It's actually pretty common to get this. And I found myself actually holding the BB-8 and resourcing around it because it's such an explosive play. Like to be able to just, swing out with your leader, ready it, swing out with your Voltron leader, and then like your opponent removes it. You have no board. Well, I just did 14 damage to you or something crazy like that. 12 damage to you. I'm just going to Forecause you to death now with 1 Forecause, right? That is a very, very viable play line. And additionally, the BB-8 has a combo synergy with another card, which I'll talk through in a little bit because I don't have it on screen yet. All right, and then the Han Pilot, best pilot in the game. I don't know. I don't know. This is by far the best pilot in the game, and it has the best art. So with this Galactic art, I have all 3 copies right here in my deck. But this card is just insane. Hot Shot Blaster in space. A lot of times I can like deploy to the ground to avoid a blowout kill of my leader if I play this first, because this card is almost as valuable as my leader deploy in space because of how much just pump it provides to the units. Such a good card. One of the best cards to pick up before rotation because I think this has become even a bigger staple. All right, let's wipe those away. Let's look at our turn 1 plays. So honestly, Cartel Turncoat isn't that great. I'm really only playing it to dodge Quinlan and also go wide against hard control. It's weird because in like Yellow Sabine, this is amazing, but in this deck, it's kind of meh. It is nice to have a 1-drop to also suit up with a pilot because that is something you got to be aware of with this deck. You cannot keep a fistful of pilots in your hand because you will just not be able to play them. So I often like have 1 or 2 pilots in my hand and I resource every other copy. And we're only playing, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Playing 9 pilots. And just FYI, the R2, let me go back a little bit. The R2 and the BB-8 are actually clinchers against hard control. Because what I'll do is like, I'll sometimes just play a BB-8 and an R2 on turn 1 and be like, all right, Power of the Dark Side is offline the rest of the game now. They won't even play that card. And if they do, I'm sacking a BB-8. All right, so let's take a look at the rest of the other drops. Basically, guys, these are just powerful units that are fighters for Trench Run. Anakin's Interceptor sometimes becomes a 4/3. Sure. Black One gets the +1. That's the synergy there. It's resistance. A-Wing and N1 Starfighter are just they just hit good. They hit damage. They go base. Hit face, right? That's it. And then Fireball here, the reason why you play this deck is Kaz's signature card. Card's insane. Against some like hero decks, if they have to play A-Wing opener and you Fireball it, it just feels like, ugh. Also, Bobo Data Vault is sometimes playing the 0/3 Raid 3 Nihil like fighter, and this card just kills it for free and takes 0 damage. Crazy. This thing kills Fireball. It kills Alliance X-Wing. It kills, other 2/2s in space, some of the, and it's insane against Vader 4. Sometimes a Fireball if they play a 1/2 in a 1/3 and a 1/2, and you go into those units, like if they play a 1/3, you Fireball it, claim, and then you attack their other unit, sometimes the game is over for Vader 4. You basically got to kill both their units and you get to keep your Fireball. It's just crazy card. The card has so much flexibility. I've also won plenty of games with Fireball by using it as a removal effect, by just killing something in space to protect my leader. And then my leader just has, full rights in space still. So it sometimes can just clean up problematic cards, and you just play it to kill something to keep, maybe your Voltron unit in space alive. All right, so turn 2. Turn 2, you can do plenty of things, right? You can play a 1-drop and a 2-drop. You can play a pilot in like a cartel turncoat. But ideally, you want to be dropping the Falcon or the Hauler. The main reason is it gets around Force Lightning. Both of these cards, once you pilot Kazuda on the 4 resource turn, if you have the ability to do that, you get out of Force Lightning range. Additionally, Stolen AT Hauler, if they play Force Lightning on it, it loses all of its ability, so they can't steal it. A lot of people don't like playing this card because they're afraid of losing the unit. And I found that if my opponent ever steals this card, I can use a Han pilot on a Falcon to first strike it and get it back. And then my opponent invested resources to kill it, but then I got it back without losing anything. And then I also just have a massive board state now. It's kind of a card you don't want to steal. I actually think I think if you are a good player, you just kill this thing and don't steal it. That's my opinion. Unless I have like no cards in my hand and you're reading the board state well, I will get it back. It's very easy in this deck to get this back. There are plenty of cards that let you kill it in return and live with your units, and you just get to play it again. All right. So the Millennium Falcon, this Falcon I'd rather not play, because what you want to do is you want to play a unit that enters in exhausted on turn 2. So Stolen AT Hauler and Falcon. The reason is you want to go into the deploy turn with as many ready units. And on the next turn, I'll kind of talk about why this is important. But the Millennium Falcon can enter ready, and you can prevent the upkeep cost, so it's not a bad card to play on turn 2, but I actually want to play it on turn 3. So on turn 3, what I want to do is I want a 3+1. I want to play Jam Communications. You want to be playing this card before piloting on your 3-drops. So what you want to do, the sequencing is you have all your ready units. If your opponent is waiting for you and baiting you to pilot and they want to kill it, sometimes they have a Force Throw ready to just Force Throw crate to kill it. They want a 2-for-1 you. Because if you kill my deployed leader, you're essentially 2-for-1ing me, right? You're killing my unit and you're killing my leader upgrade. And so what you want to do is play Jam Communications. Look at their hands, see what they have, take the event. This card is crazy because it allows you to also play the ready Falcon. So now you should have 3 or 4, maybe 3 ready units. Ideally, you have your turn 1 play if it lived, you have your 3-drop Falcon, and you have the yellow 3-drop Falcon. And this allows you to rip all of the answers. So what does Jam Communications hit? Power of the Dark Side, Force Lightning, Force Throw, Takedown, Fell the Dragon. Let's see, what else does it take? Confiscate, right? And so these cards just shut down this deck, but we have the cheapest hand removal event in the game to rip their event-based removal. And this is a very, very, very event-based removal meta right now. There are a very limited amount of decks. Even against like Green Sabine, ripping their Rebel Assault so they can't action beat us, that sometimes just wins you the game. Like, it's crazy how powerful this card can be if you know what to take and when to play it. So it can really rip the answer. And there are some versions of Kazuda playing full 3 copies of Spark of Rebellion. I think that's a bit too much. I'm actually playing 1 copy of Spark, but I tried it, and you get too flooded with hand hate, and it's brutal. And you don't want to be top decking 2 Sparks, late game, and that's just too many events. This deck has a lot of events already. You're trying to balance like events with units right now. So this is the ideal deploy turn. All right, so turn 4, I'm playing 2 copies of this. And this card is just absolutely nuts. It seems like a gimmick, but it has allowed me to steal so many games against, people online, or even against, some of my testing partners. So first off, it is hard to remove. A lot of the staple removal like Fell or even Takedown, which isn't seeing as much play, but they just can't touch this card. It has lots of HP, so you can blind Trench Run and probably live and hit for 8 damage to base. So it's just a really, really, really big fighter that they probably can't answer cleanly. And if they do, you're going to be able to smash in for at least 8. Now, this is where things get crazy, is the BB-8 combo. So you play Black 1 on 5 after your deploy turn, which is really nice because if you have your leader out, they have to answer that, and then you slam another fatty, big vehicle that they need to deal with. Excuse me. And cunning isn't in the meta right now, so like this is a 4/6, and they can't easily bounce it, right? So the BB-8 combo goes like this. You play the black one, you attack out, claim, ready everything up. You play BB-8. So when you play BB-8 as a pilot for 1, you trigger BB-8's ability and you trigger Black Squadrons. And because you're the active player, you get to order how these resolve. So how you order these is you order Black Squadron to resolve first. So BB-8 is +1/+2. When you play an upgrade on this unit, you may attack with this unit. It gets +1/+0. So Black Squad attacks for 6 to base. Then the BB-8 trigger resolves, which is you may pay 2 and ready up a resistance unit. Well, Black Squadron happens to be resistance. So you just attacked for 6. You untap Black Squadron, and now he's a 5/8. Very, very hard to kill. You can attack for 5, which is 11 damage to base with 1 unit. Or if you happen to have a handy dandy trench run, you hit for 15 damage to base. And that is ridiculous. And some decks that don't win very, very quickly, they want to win on like turn 6, 7, 8, 9. A lot of force decks can't win until like turn 7 or 8 from a math perspective. So this card is hard to kill with force throw. They have to have a fat unit to force throw to kill it. And sometimes you can just blow your opponent out of the water. They're like, what just happened? How did you do 15 damage in 2 actions with 1 unit? And it's a very powerful combo. And even if you don't get the BB-8, you have all the other reasons to play this card, right? It's just really big. It's a nice unit that lives, and you have some sort of late game viability. And I think I've seen lots of versions of this list, and I think what it's missing is something that can go into the late game instead of a bunch of dirtily 3/3s and 2/3s. I just don't think that's going to win the game. This is something that when you slam it, it immediately demands an answer. And again, my last video I just posted talks about the cheese. I am leaning into the cheese, guys. Like, I am going to cheese you and greedily smash you out of the game, and that's how I'm going to win. And you want to play cards that basically force your opponent to constantly be in check as quickly as possible, especially as aggro. That's really the game plan. Other decks want to stall the game, then put your opponent in check with large units, large boards, more value plays. This card is very fast, and it lines up perfectly with pretty much all of the different typal packages: fighter, resistance, vehicle. We're really hitting on all cylinders there. So when it comes to the sideboard here, Trench Run plus Heroic Sack equals, again, cheese. Just very powerful cards, let you draw extra cards. Trench Run is just a disgusting card. I've often even Trench Run on turn 2 for 7 to base with a Fireball and then played like a 2-drop. That's crazy. Like, the most you could do with Sabine was 5 with like a Fleet Lieutenant, and now we're doing 7. It's just a lot more damage. Bamboozle, Necessary Evil right now. I am playing a split copy, one in the main, one in the side. We got the Hand Hate package for Spark, so those are the events. And the For a Cause here, Yield Sabine Tactic. It's just a necessary card in red hero. I think that if you're playing red hero and not like double red or something like that, For a Cause is just such a powerful card, letting me look at the top X amount of cards. Sometimes I'll sandbag them and play 2 For a Causes back to back. All right. And then sideboard here, Jedi Starfighter for Anti-Vader 4, Daring Raid for anti-ambush stuff and for extra reach. Wolfpack Escort is actually good against hard control because you get to go wide against Power of the Dark Side. It's also anti-Quinlan because Quinlan doesn't have a way to answer 1-drops. Bamboozle, Disabling Fangfighter to hit other upgrade decks, Entrenched, etc. Frozen in Carbonite. Like, there are some wonky decks out there, and I feel like Kazuda can get an auto loss from these decks that probably will never win a PQ or anything like that, but they just are really good against Kazuda and people play them. So you need the Disabling Fangfighters in there. And then Contracted Hunter is just an insane card against Force decks. You get to kill Yaddle, Karis, other Force units that don't have a shield on turn 1. If you have the initiative, you play black 1, right? And then you get to slam a Contracted Hunter, kill their guy, and they don't have the Force. They don't have a Force unit. They have an empty board. It's just very powerful. Maybe they thought they had Power of the Dark Side going into that turn, and you get to sack the Contracted Hunter anyways. Just being able to take a lot of Force decks off their turn 1 play can sometimes put you really far ahead. So that concludes my deck tech on this deck. I really think this is going to become the premier aggro deck very, very soon. I think it's already showing promising results, but I also think that this deck will become by far the best aggro deck after rotation. Right now, it's very good, and I'll be playing this deck at PQs. I think that it's a deck that if you know what you're doing, you know how to take the right cards out, it kind of feels like, you know, Green Sabine did, where you're just like slamming Darksaber and you just kind of get a free win because your opponent has no answer. If you want to learn more about this deck, you can dig more into my membership. I actually transitioned away from Patreon to Fourth Wall, and Fourth Wall actually combined my merch store and my Patreon into one area. So if you want to head to my store, I have some new merch to share with you all, as well as you can join my membership for free for the first month. So I'm offering this for a short time to get people in here. If you just want to join, check it out, you can leave. This just feels so bad. If you're looking to learn more about this deck, I actually have some VODs down in my membership below. I just transitioned my Patreon over to Fourth Wall, and I'm actually offering my first month free for a short time for anyone else who wants to join the Patreon, hang out, talk about decks, get advice, and everything is now integrated on my Fourth Wall store. So if you become a member, you also get additional discounts on my merch, and I did launch my new playmat, which has the Falcon inspiration of a heads-up display. And I also launched my I Have Friends Everywhere tee. This design was made by a local designer. Check it out. I think it looks really good. The shirts are all super high quality, similar to something you'd find at like the Gap or something. I really made sure to find the highest quality merch for the store itself. And that design is really sick. I'm impressed with it. So definitely check it out. Support the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Links below.